Hi, Dad.
Hey, Celeste.
What are you doing?
I'm painting over here. What are you doing?
I'm doing a school project. What are you listening to?
Phil Collins.
Mm,
It's one of my favorites.
very nice.
I always listen to somebody when I'm painting.
Why?
It just helps me get through it all.
So you have to do all of this today?
Well, I'm not on a time schedule, but this is what I gotta get done for this week. Gotta do the baseboards and frames and all the doors.
You have to do it all?
Yes, I gotta do it all. Who's gonna do it if I don't do it?
Oh, true. Who taught you how to do all this stuff?
Celeste, nobody taught me how to do it. I didn't have my dad teach me like you do. Just learned on my own.
All of it?
Well, my grandmother made me paint her house 10 times.
Wow, 10 times. Why?
10 times every year. As soon as she found out I was free, I painted her whole house, and it was an old house. It was a 100-and-something-year-old house. It was built in the 1910. So it was just old walls, a lot of paint. And really, to be honest, thanks to her that I got a liking for it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. She was great, actually.
So do you think you're available this week to go to Thistletown?
Definitely not Monday.
Monday?
Monday's great. This week is too hard. Is that okay?
I have school Monday.
Okay, Tuesday.
Okay, I can do Tuesday.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So we'll go, we'll meet, we could meet there. It's close to York.
Well, no, I'll be home, so we can go together.
And then come home together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
So we'll drive together and then we'll go home together?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then maybe we can do some lunch.
Okay, that sounds nice. So where are we going today?
Hey, Celeste.
Hi.
I'm going to take you to this place that I stayed when I was a kid for 18 weeks and 4 days, and they were helping me to get over certain issues that I had. It's called Thistletown.
Okay.
But I like to tell you what happened before I ended up getting there. So you remember that your grandparents got divorced.
Yeah.
And my father left my mother.
Yeah.
So my mother didn't take that too well, and she had a lot of issues, and she couldn't cope with it. So I ended up having a really bad time living there with her. So anyway, things got really bad after a couple of years. I talked to my dad and I said, we can't stay here anymore, me and my sisters. This is what's happening here. So he got a lawyer, and he took my mother to court for custody of his kids, of us. In the meantime, when my mother found out about the court hearings, that she was being taken to court for us, she even nosedived into worse than what she was doing. And one day I ended up being awoken by, well, I followed her all night. So I followed her. She was talking senseless, and she was looking inside the drawers and looking inside the cupboards and fridges, and I didn't understand why, but I followed her. And anyway, the next thing I know, I fell asleep on the floor, on the carpet, and somebody woke me up, and it was a police officer. So I'm dazed. I'm waking up. I'm 9 years old at this time, almost 9, and the police officer says, "Is that your mother there?" So I look through the window, and she was being taken out on a stretcher. She was strapped though, and her eyes were bulging out of her face. That's what I remember. So now what are they gonna do with us now? We like, so my sisters ended up going with my dad right away, and then they realized that I was not normal in things that I had witnessed, things that I had seen, and things that were done to me. So they put me in this foster home for the time being, and this was a place that I was staying before I got to Thistletown. Thistletown was supposed to help me through all my issues, but they needed time for me to get there. So I ended up going to this farm that was a dairy farm where kids went to work. So there I am, I'm 9 years old, and they're making me shovel crap with a pitchfork.
Wow. And
milk the cows, and it was a big job to be at a dairy farm. I mean, it taught me a work ethic.
Did you like being there?
I really didn't like to have to. It was probably about 100 cows. Like, it was a big farm, and we had to milk them in the morning. They had to be milked in the morning and at night, and it was a lot of work.
Was that the only foster home you had to go to before Thistletown?
Yeah, I was there for 3 weeks exactly.
Okay. For some reason, I remember you telling me a story about how one of the foster homes you were in, or one of the places you were in, they didn't like you, or they didn't treat you well.
Yeah, that was the place. Yeah, they had an issue with me. I don't know why, but it was just they were a really older couple, and they just it just seemed like I don't know. I never rubbed in the right way.
Oh.
There was an issue there, so I mean, I tried to be good, but you see, they were used to all kinds of kids coming there from broken homes, and I mean, they're not all gonna want to work on the farm.
Yeah.
And that's why that they took these kids on, because they did it. I mean, they did it because I guess they wanted to help these kids, but I had no choice, so I had to make it work. And at 9 years old, anyway, I didn't really like it there, because it wasn't like a loving environment. You know, I had to do it, even though I said I couldn't go in the barn because it smelled so bad. They said, well, you gotta clean the barn. And at the end of the day, I couldn't even. My nose burned so much that all the hairs in my nose were burning because of all the smell. Just a really strong order. But anyway, once that 3 weeks went by, they found me a spot in Thistletown, and that's where I'm taking you today.
Okay. How much farther do you think?
Maybe 15 minutes.
Did your sisters go to Thistletown?
One of my sisters ended up going there for a short time, but she didn't go through as extensive as I did. I was there for 18 weeks and 4 days, and I had been talking to a lot of social workers, psychiatrists. I even ended up going to speech therapy because I stuttered so much. I still do today. And when I get nervous, it's even worse. It still is. But I had it very extensive. Because what they were trying to do is I was a 9-year-old boy with the mind of a 30-year-old man.
Mm-hmm.
And I took on all the problems that my mother was having, and I put them on my shoulders. And they would tell me this, that they were trying to make me a kid again, to think like a kid and not have to worry so much about things, like the stupid thing I used to worry about. So I'm 8 or 9, and I would think about when I get my license, when I'm 16, I don't know where things are. How am I going to drive to these places? And I would worry about stuff like that. Like, it was just stupid things like that. Like, I didn't have anyone to tell me, but that's things you don't have to worry about right now.
Yeah. Your dad never told you that?
No, he would tell me that I don't have to worry about stuff like that right now. was a long process, and things I had to understand that what happened was not right, and I had to kind of go back. But I was still smart enough. They would ask me a lot of questions. What happened to you? Or what was like this? And I would, no, it wasn't that bad. Like, I would always I would protect my mother, though. That was the first thing, because I didn't want to get her in any trouble.
Yeah.
But I did tell my dad some stuff that were going on. Even to this day, I still try to protect her.
Yeah.
So this place had, there were 18 homes. Okay, now, in each home, they had 4 rooms with 2 boys or 2 girls in each room. And everybody came from broken homes. We all had problems. And we would be taken care of by 4 or 5 social workers. And what they were trying to do was to give us a sense of balance of what it was supposed to be like if you lived in a real home. For example, in the morning you wake up, you get ready for school, you go downstairs, have your breakfast. Okay, you take your plates and your fork or your spoon, you put them in the sink, and then you go to school, and then you come home for lunch, and then you go back to school. Because there was a school, an elementary school right on the property.
Mm-hmm.
And then after school you would do homework and then get ready for dinner. We have our dinner, and we always had to eat whatever was put in front of us. Even if you didn't like it, you had to eat. That was the rules. But they were really, really good to us. Like, I really did like them all. There was Sonia, there was Bonnie, there was Anne, and there was Valerie. I really liked Valerie.
Mm-hmm.
She was a nice lady. She had an uncle that played in the NHL. He was a goalie. He played for the New York Rangers.
Oh, wow.
And she said, "Do you know who this player is?" And I said, "Yeah, I do," because I knew I was really a big hockey fan. I've always been a hockey fan. So she got me his autograph, a picture of him with his autograph.
Oh, that's so nice.
She was really nice.
So did you guys like play games or something? Like, what was it to make you guys feel like a kid?
It was, see, I wasn't used to having all that, because I had to, like, whatever was in the fridge, I had to worry about making my own lunch and my own dinners, because my mother never did a lot of that. She wasn't even around sometimes. So that's what they were trying to do. So just to try to get us to be kids again. After dinner, sometimes we'd play cards, or we'd play some board games. At 8 o'clock we'd watch TV. 8:30 was bedtime, and everybody had to be in bed, whether you were tired or not. Now, I used to go to bed whenever I wanted. I never had a sense of balance on bedtime or whatever. And going to school, if I didn't want to go to school, I didn't go to school. But a lot of times I didn't want to go to school because I was so worried about what was happening in my house, and if my mother was going to be home after school. I had this fear about coming home being alone.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm going to take you to, we're going to pass by where I used to live.
Okay.
Because it's very close to Thistletown. I don't know how it happened that it was so close, but they were really nice. And on the weekends, I would, like on Saturdays, I would go and spend it with my dad and his new wife and my sisters. So, they were just trying to just kind of get me back to being a kid again before I ended up going back to my dad.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to know what was going on in my mind, really. That's the biggest thing that they wanted to know, like, but I never told them everything, because I knew that there were things that happened that were wrong. And I knew that they were wrong.
Yeah.
and it wasn't really. I mean, it was bad then. You know, it wasn't safe. I mean, it was safe because I used to play outside all the time. But I mean, it wasn't an ideal place to raise a family. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Like, I mean, because they were, it was Ontario Housing, it's called.
Yeah.
That's where we were. So, I mean, a lot of broken families with broken homes, and the government tried to help to put you somewhere. At least you have a home over your head, a house, a roof over your head.
Yeah.
But I bet you today it's really bad there now. Like gangs and everything, it's gotten worse. So this was it over here on the right hand side, coming up. All the next lights.
Makes sense.
Mount Olive, that was the name of it. So it was in there that we used to live.
In there?
Yeah, that's where one of these houses are.
This is Ontario Housing?
Yeah, right in the back.
Oh, okay.
So now, I don't know if we're still going to be able to get in. Because I know that they closed the road. Because when I was a kid, like after I grew up a bit, I tried to come back to Thistletown, and I realized that they closed it. But see, that's the start of it there.
Why'd you want to come back?
I don't know. It was a time in my life where I actually got a lot of help. See, they closed it all.
This is it?
Yeah, this is it here. Yeah, so can't really see much, but it's these are what the houses look like, and there was 18 of them.
Do you want to go outside?
Yeah, but let me just park. I don't want to stay in here. I don't know why they closed it. It was a really good thing to have. Look like they're all the same, the houses. So that's because that was more like the one at the end there. That's where it starts. So and then there's 18 of these buildings with a school and a park. I don't know why they ended up proposing this place. It really helped me a lot.
So if you could go back and not have experienced
No, I wouldn't.
all of that,
I wouldn't have lasted this long.
no?
Yeah, I had to go there because I had to become a kid again.
Yeah. So why do you think it's beneficial for people to know that this type of system or organization exists?
Because it helped. It was there in place to help kids that came from broken homes and that needed to have a foundation or start a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that, so it helped me going to bed early, going to school, having a breakfast and going to school and having a normal life.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the social workers were really great, like really great people, and there was a caring, like they really cared about us. It wasn't like it was where I was on the farm, where we were just there to work on the farm
Mm-hmm.
and to help them, do chores and stuff. But anyway, it was different. It was a different kind of, like, that was good for being on the farm, but where this was good to give a child a foundation on what it's supposed to be like,
Mm-hmm.
what life was supposed to be like at that age.
Yeah.
It really was beneficial to me.
So what happened after you stayed here? Where did you go after?
Okay, so after the 18 weeks and 4 days, then I ended up moving in with my dad because he won the court case and he got custody of us, and we started a life with him and his new wife, and that was grade 4. And in the meantime, though, they wanted to know what my development was like. So every 2 or 3 months, I'd have to go see a professional just to see what's going on in my life and how things are going. They would even come at the house and see us as a family. Like, they were really involved. They were really, really involved. Well, what were they called? Children's Aid.
Mm.
That's what they were called. And I don't know if it still exists today. I think it does, but I don't know how exactly it is. And it's a government-run operation where they try to see what's going on in these homes with these kids and try to help them. And it was, they came around a lot. It wasn't just once in a while. And they wanted to know how things were, and they do their own reports. But things were most of the time good. There were ups and downs. We were my dad's new wife got an instant family, and it was hard. It was hard for her. She was young, but she tried her best because she loved my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still doing speech therapy. I was still doing seeing different psychologists or psychiatrists. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what they were, but they just wanted to know how my mind was developing. They were really scared for me, it looked like, because I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking, wow, like they really paid a lot of attention to me. But anyway, so not even 2 years, 3 years max. We ended up moving from Mississauga to Brampton, and I started going to grade 7. So by the end of grade 7, my dad took us on this trip to Mexico for 2 weeks, all of us kids. When he got back, he got diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that was early spring now, so March. But we didn't know how bad it was until Halloween of that year. My stepmother told me that he's not going to make it, and that was when I realized that he was going to be gone. I still think about him a lot. It was a long time ago. Actually, I think about him every day. So he never made it to January. After Halloween was January, he was gone January 19th. And then now this whole emotional roller coaster started again. So just when I thought things were good, they were great, now there's another mountain and a half that I had to climb. So it was tough. Those were, if I thought that I had tough times when I was 7 or 8, now it was even more, because now my dad's gone, and now what's his wife gonna do with us? I mean, we weren't her kids. So after some careful planning, not even 6 months later, my sisters, well, she ended up shipping my sisters back to my mother, which was very reluctant, because now my mother had been free of us for 3.5 years. But my sisters ended up going there, and they had the same problems that we had when we were with my mother the first time. But I stayed with my stepmother, and I knew my place there. I mean, she ended up having a son with my dad, and her son was her son, and that's who was most important. And I knew my place, and as long as I knew my place, I could stay. And I wanted to stay because I wanted to go to high school. I wanted to have an education. I wanted to be something. I wanted to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm in grade 10. And one day, this guy's thinking that maybe we're going to be... No. He thinks that maybe we're going to do something. One day, Mrs. Edie from the guidance counselor's office comes over and takes me out of study hall. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Tony, these people from Children's Aid just came by to visit me, and they asked about you." Now I'm in grade 10, so I'm 16 now. This is how I really believe that they cared a lot. Like, I don't know how it is today, but back then it was a big deal. And they had told her about, I guess, my life story on, this is what happened, and like this and this and this. And she came over. She was crying because they wanted to know how I developed, how I am as a student, how I am as a, as a teenager. Do I get into any trouble? And she said that she just did not believe that they were talking about me. So she came over. She was in tears. And she was saying, I told them how great of a person that you are. And I've known you you've been here for 4 years. Because I started in grade 7 then. High school was different then. It was grade 7 to grade 12. And I stayed at the same school. Anyway. That's it. Basically, I really thank Thistletown for helping me a lot. This place really, I mean, they couldn't have known what was going to happen to my dad, but that was another story.
Yeah. And this is you here?
Yeah, that was me in grade 7.
You're so cute. What is this doing here?
Polly wanted to keep it.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I look just like you.
That's what people say.
That's cute. So what are we going to do now?
Okay, we're going to just do one more errand and then...
Go get some lunch?
Yes, great idea.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.